let's get started. By the way, Zach, these are Andre's words, so I'm just the messenger.
Yep.
Cool.
Very good.
Okay, first question is, so I've had this question kept away for almost 8 years. For you personally, what's the most important message Superman carries, and if over the years this has changed?
I don't think it's changed because, you know, we still evoke in the film and also constantly think about the way basically Jor-El sent him into the world, you know, with his words. You know, you help them accomplish wonders, one day they'll join you in the sun. That whole speech still applies and is still, it's an ongoing quest for Superman to kind of achieve, even though, I mean, his father set a pretty lofty goal for him. And I think that he is starting to achieve it, but it is still out there for him to kind of complete the journey.
Right. Sweet.
Does that make sense?
Whoa.
Yes, perfect sense. Okay. You said in the past that your version of Justice League, having been filmed in 2016, today fits perfectly in a separate universe, the Snyderverse, because of the direction that the DC Cinematic Universe has taken. You said you had no plans for a sequel, but left a sort of open window in saying, who knows? If you could pick a storyline to develop some sort of a spin-off from Zack Snyder's Justice League, what character would it be based on?
Is the question a spin-off, basically, so a non-sequel, but a continuing story?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a story based on a specific character, or, you know, what would you pick? Who would you pick?
You know, we talked about doing a, I mean, I guess we've, DC, well, or they decided not to do it, but we did talk about doing possibly I wanted to do a sort of a mini kind of comic book run on the death of Robin, right?
Yes.
And what happened with how Joker killed Robin, and what it did to Batman, and started him sort of down this darker road that ended, kind of culminated with the arrival of Superman, you know?
Right. Pretty sure that would be
cool.
Oh, super. Your cut of Justice League is a milestone in film industry history, not only because of the movement that made it possible, but also because of the duration of the film itself. We'll finally be able to see everything you had in store for the League without time constraints or creativity being stifled. With this total freedom you're getting, and we fans would love to hear about it, what message would you like to give through your cut?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't want necessarily to, I'm excited for people to watch the film and sort of absorb the message as it unfolds. But I mean, I think on a more kind of, on a wider sort of cast of the net, I think that the idea of, that each of them is overcoming some kind of family issue, and that this, in the coming together of the League, that the actual, their real families, I mean, the Justice League becomes their sort of surrogate family, but their real family issue is also in the work. They're doing the work and taking the first steps toward solving and sort of getting closure on like really what has driven them into this sort of, well, you know, this sort of double life that they live as a superhero and as, you know, and also as a normal person. So I think that the film is about healing that old wound of family and sort of through the new family that they've created. So I think that's a broad way of thinking about it, but it's very like important to the sort of core of the film.
Beautiful message. You are very active with your fans. You always answer questions and share your impressions on Vero. On January 2019, you revealed the All the Gods t-shirt with proceeds from sales contributing to the AFSP. The symbols were the focus of many theories and fan interpretations. With the release of your cut, will we be getting a more interpretative reading of the Aequitas map, or does it represent your initial idea for what would be the 5-film arc?
Well, when we created All the Gods, like the idea is that it does hopefully both, you know, it encapsulates the grander hero's journey. It incorporates the grander 5-film arc, but it also sort of the individual chapters of the way the movie rolls out are also kind of laced into it. So it's Justice League, but it's also more. So it goes to the future and it goes a little bit to the past. So it goes on both sides of the story, and we'll see whether we get more.
Amazing. Awesome. We know that every movie has its challenges when it comes to directing, but of all of your movies, which was the most challenging and why?
Well, I'll say the most fun I've had making a movie was probably the movie I just finished, Army of the Dead, because, you know, just being director, cameraman, and just with this kind of relatively small crew and really being able to just physically do the work, it was really nice. Certainly the most challenging job that I've done was Justice League. Probably psychologically the most challenging. Physically the most challenging, probably Batman versus Superman. Just because of the long schedule. I mean, it was a 154-day shoot. And you know, and we were training, like I was training really hard during the shoot. We worked out every day, but it finally took its toll a little bit. By the end of it, we were all like, we were fried. So thank God we got to go to Bora Bora to do that pickup, because that was nice. That was a nice way, truly. We ended the movie in New Mexico on top of a mountain, you know, with Pa Kent. But then we got that one little couple weeks later, we went to Bora Bora and shot that little thing with a teeny group of people, you know, where they find the kryptonite rock. And that was nice. That was like a chill way to end.
Sweet.
Before that, we were completely fried. So.
Well, it sounds like a real challenge, my God. Speaking of difficulties, I have to bring up the pandemic. How was it adapting from being in the studio to then being in your home in the middle of 2 productions? I mean, considering that you finished, well, at the time when the question was made, you were finishing up Army of the Dead for Netflix and Justice League for HBO Max. Were there any adaptations done between you and your crew?
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were pretty much in the middle of Army editing and with no real green light on finishing Justice League. Then over the course of the pandemic, of course, we got the green light to finish Justice League, and we had the work of finishing Army. Then we had to replace an actor from Army So we had to schedule and start that concept. And then we had the okay from Warner's to shoot the small scene for Justice League. So the good news is we kind of got, because we were in the middle of shooting the Army additional photography, we had sort of got to practice a little bit our COVID protocols and everything to get us ready for the other shoot. So, and it was really, it is quite difficult, you know, with the different zones and all that. So it was hard to do, but it was, I think once you sort of get the hang of it, it's another layer, but it didn't inhibit us from doing the work we wanted to do.
Right, sweet. Short and direct. Who was the first person that saw the Snyder Cut?
In the form it is now, or in the form it is when I had it just at the house?
I both, mean, maybe.
It's kind of tough because we still haven't really played the finished movie for anybody. So in one way, that question has yet to be answered. But
the black and white version then?
Well, the color version as well. I mean, the black and white version that I had on my computer, I think the first person that I showed it to, well, so not including the kind of, you know, the sort of mythological, it might have been Jason. I'm trying to think. There was a couple like random people that you would know, that no one would know, just my friends that I was like, hey, you guys want to see Justice League? I have it here on my computer. But probably who want to remain anonymous. But yeah, I would say, let's say Jason.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Zach, you were very promising in the casting choices for the cast of The League, and you have a great relationship with the people you work with. How is your process in choosing actors for parts in your productions?
It's pretty intuitive. I don't do a lot of, I don't try and intellectualize it too much. I just kind of go with my gut, you know, when I see something I like and I sort of get a sense that the person could, you know, do it. I definitely just go with that reaction, and it's a really kind of, I don't try to intellectualize it too much. I just be like, that's the person, you know. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's really just instinctive, I guess.
Oh, instincts are definitely working. During a live, you said that Bruce Wayne had already been married to Selina Kyle, and before that made it known that Dick Grayson was the Robin that was murdered by the Joker. That explains the bitterness of the Batman that we're introduced to in BVS. What inspired you to follow this interpretation of the character? And, if possible, is there any more implicit information about Bruce Wayne's history that you could share?
I think I'd be interested. I need to look at those words I said about Selina Kyle, because I'm not 100% sure whether that's correct or not. You know, it doesn't feel like you know, I've heard someone say that to me before, and I'm like, man, maybe I just misspoke or I was misinterpreted, but that doesn't fit really correctly in what if I did that, I apologize, because I don't think Bruce and Selina were married. And what was the second half of the question about Dick Grayson?
No, if you had any other, if there's any more implicit information about Bruce's backstory that you could share, you know, any fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his relationship to Joker is probably a very, you know, I think is a big part of also his arc, and you know, what happened to Robin and that whole chapter of his life, I think is an important part of his, you know, what's made him who he is, like, as I said before, but, it would be fun to, but I mean, I do believe there was a relationship with Selena Kyle, and I do believe that it was kind of as close as he's gotten to like a real kind of relationship, in the sense that of someone that he, you know, had an affinity with. But I don't think that I think they were both too broken to ever like be married or to have a relationship that was based on sort of what we would call traditional sort of the values of marriage and things of that nature. But that's kind of yet to be seen.
Well, personally, I think it's interesting to know that you know, they've crossed paths, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, for sure that's happened. But
yeah.
The marriage thing, I've heard that again. People talk. I'd like to I need to look at what I said, because I'm like, wow, did I really say that?
I didn't sign anything. Being as close as you are to your fans, it's impossible not to ask if you follow the criticism made about your productions and directorial style on social media. Fortunately, you're surrounded by fans that support you and very much like your vision. Otherwise, the Release the Snyder Cut movement might have never been possible. But the question is, how do you deal with negative criticism?
Well, you know, it's hard. It's hard. I honestly don't try. I don't look at it that much. I mean, look, I've looked at and sort of analyzed, and as I think anyone would do, the sort of negative criticism of the films in the past. And I haven't found anything within the criticism that would make me believe and or change anything I do. So so in that way, it doesn't really affect me, you know. If I felt like there was an issue or some sort of something lacking within the work, and I needed to look at the criticism to then reevaluate the way I approach things, that would be a different scenario. But I wouldn't change a frame of anything I've done, so I don't, you know, the criticism is just a criticism then in that case.
Perfect. Anything you want to say?
No, I was just saying that, you know, it's been a great experience to, you know, this experience with Justice League and the fandom and sort of, you know, this sort of renaissance I've experienced within the fandom and finding these, you know, like-minded fans, you know, because the films they're populist films, you know, in a lot of ways, you know, they're films meant for a mass audience, but I've made them, and I've said this a million times, I've made them in a very boutique-y way, like it's a very small scale production. And when I'm doing it the way I want, it's really just it's a very personal thing. It's not meant for, I mean, it is meant for mass consumption, but it's not a boardroom kind of affair. And I just think that a lot of people, you know, yeah, I've said in the past that, you know, there's movies that are made in a boardroom, sort of corporate films, and they're very clean and they're very polished and they've been tested and they're very, you know, they give you exactly what you want at every moment. And that's just not a thing I'm interested in. And frankly, I just don't think it's the thing that people, you know, who are wanting to have an experience that's possibly different from the one that they expect, want. And maybe, you know, part of the problem that I face is that the films don't necessarily do exactly what everybody wants at every moment. And so they challenge you a little bit, and that is what it is.
Wonderful, wonderful. Regarding your big break and box office hit 300, what was it like winning the award for Best Director from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films? This is way back in the day.
I really had a great time making that movie. It was completely a passion project. It had no one wanted to make it. Everyone thought we were crazy. So, you know, it's always nice to be recognized for the work, but truth is we couldn't have been having more fun making that movie. So it was reward in itself.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, this next question, again, this is from our friend here, Andrea. He said that he read an article, it's going to be linked here. It's about Zack Snyder's success beyond learning disability, about dyslexia. And Andrea said that he really felt represented because he was already an admirer of your work beforehand. And I quote, "And maybe the answers I seek here may serve as inspiration for a lot of people in creating more awareness about the subject." So the question is, how do you deal with the fact that you're an inspiration to people with learning disabilities by simply not letting dyslexia define you and being in spite of it, the great director and producer you are? And a little addendum to that question. And finally, when dyslexia becomes a challenge for you, where and how do you look for inspiration?
Well, yeah, look, I have no problem talking about it in the sense that, like, you know, it was a challenge for me when I was, you know, young and in school, and all I wanted to do was make movies because that was the thing that I got great pleasure from and reward from. And, you know, I love books and I'm an avid reader, but I just have a hard time, you know, because of, you know, the way that I perceive. But, you know, I've had a great sort of, one side of me anyways was really satisfied by art and drawing and sculpture and sort of visual expression. And I think that started to, you know, was the thing that kind of made me feel unfrustrated by the way, and also the way the system was designed, sort of not to support me when I was in high school. At that time, it was very difficult. You know, there was a lot of, you know, just, you know, difficulty. You know, my English teacher in high school was like worried about what my career would be like, you know. And I'm like, he would be happy to know that I'm in the Writers Guild of America now. But you know, so, you know, I think that all those things are, they're all, you can transcend all those things with perseverance and with interest and with help. And I think that's an important part of it. And I just think I've had to adapt and sort of, I have my own style of the way I write. I write all, you know, but you know, I'm pretty prolific, and I love, I listen to tons of audiobooks on tape, unabridged, hours and hours and hours. That's all I do when I'm driving in the car or whatever I'm doing. And it's helped me a lot. Yeah, I mean, I just hope that anyone who feels trapped or frustrated by the world in general, you know, they need to just, I think that we all have like a magic spark, and you need to just find the thing that makes you, you know, inspires you and gets you excited, and pursue it as hard as you can. Find your passion in the world, because that's a great motivator.
So, so coming down to the last question, which is it's not exactly a question per se. It's kind of a as we know on social media, there's a huge demand for a kind of simultaneous worldwide release for Justice League, and in certain countries there's there's been issues here and there, and just wonder if there's any light you can shine upon that, if any. I know that a lot of it, I mean, I can imagine that a lot of it is out of your hands, but anyway.
A lot of it, all of it is out of my hands, sadly. I wish I was in charge of that as well. Unfortunately not. And so, yeah, there has been, not amazing work done with the distribution of the movie. I don't know why that is. I honestly I can't put my finger on it. I don't want to, seem like there's some sort of conspiracy out there. I don't think so. I really just think it was like, I think part of the problem is no one saw the movie coming, right? And I think that the normal window, or the normal way people in Hollywood distribute movies is they understand when the movie gets made that it's going to have to be distributed, right? And that's normally, they have like a 2-year window to figure that all out. The problem is this happened in 6 months, and came to life, and it's caught everyone off guard, I think, in kind of and also the demand has caught everyone off guard. I think that I do believe that even when the movie was sort of greenlit, the Snyder Cut version was greenlit, I don't know that there was a sense of urgency or an understanding of the worldwide demand that would be required of distribution and the studio and everyone to satisfy. And the only way, I think, in some ways, is to let your local carriers, and also Warner Brothers in general, or HBO Max, let them know or understand that this is important, to you guys, because I think, in their minds would be like, oh, it's, I don't know how many people want to see it, but blah, blah, whatever. I'm not certain of that, but that's what it, so I think it's important to, to let it be known that that's a thing that there's interest in from you guys, from the fans.
That's perfect. It's interesting because there's a lot that you touched upon that I think most people aren't aware of, in terms of, the time window and everything to get everything on track. So cheers. Okay, so we've pretty much finished. Go ahead.
That's literally, I think that's literally the problem, is there was just, it's kind of a twofold thing. There's the time window, and sort of how I think recently people have come around to the fact that this is a totally different movie. It's a totally different experience, and it's going to require a totally different sort of marketing and everything approach. And that I think that now that that's landed on everyone is excited to make it happen, but it's cool.
Yeah, well, pretty sure that they're doing what they can, especially now.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they really are, but we'll see.
Cool.
There's also like there's legal things too that, like, I find out all the time, like, little things here and there, like small, like, oh, that deal was made and before the movie was made, and you know, there's all these things like that even the people that are distributing the movie don't even, that are kind of out of their hands as well. Like, oh, you know, that territory was bought by, you know what I mean? There's all this kind of minutia of distribution rules and other deals that like we don't even, you know, that you and I don't even know about. So, but
Sure. The first one, which is really cool that that André started with the Snyder Cut Brazil website, is that he kind of translated the AFSP campaign to Brazil with an institution of our own, which is the CVV, which is the Centro de Valorização da Vida, which would free translation would be Center for the Valuing of Life. It's kind of BFSP, if you will.
Right.
And the same idea of bringing up, you know, the campaign and with T-shirts and whatnot. So it's inspired in the AFSP campaign, but bring it over here to Brazil. So he just wanted to so that you were aware that this is being done here too, that, you know, the good word is being spread.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's super important.
So he just wanted to reiterate how thankful he is for you taking the time to give this interview for him, and that very thankful for the wonderful person that you are, and that he's getting a lot of wonderful feedback from the campaign that he just started with, you know, with the suicide prevention institution here in Brazil, and yeah, basically very, very thankful. Okay, brother, thank you so much again for your time.
Of course. Thank you, guys.